NJ.com and the Heldridge Hotel. Welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights. With your host, Steve Politi, and Rutgers insider Brian Fonseca. Let's start shopping.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rant. Our summer editions, we spread them apart. We don't want to put all the stuff into one show. We've kind of not a lot going on here, but we do have some stuff to talk about. We've got some football month away, some recruiting news in football. We're going to break that down. We got the World Cup. Brian and I sitting next to each other in a press box at a game involving France. Very exciting. We've got that to break down, but this is the most immediate thing. You saw a glimpse, a practice. The basketball team, a little opening, weird to get June 30th access, but I think what happens when you change over the complete roster. What'd you think? What'd you see?
Yeah, so just to lay the situation out, we watched about an hour and a half, and about 12 minutes of it was 5-on-5, right? So it's not like we got a massive glimpse, and even if we had to watch 2 hours of 5-on-5, this is a very limited period. So, this is not definitive, right? What we say on July 1st, if it doesn't come to fruition on November 3rd, don't come back to this podcast and say, Brian, you told me Javonte Ware was the second coming of Shaquille O'Neal. All right, Are you
going to tell me that? Because I like to hear that. That'd be great.
Wow. Well, I guess we'll start there. Javonte Ware was my biggest surprise because this is a kid who barely played last year, got a bit unfortunate that he redshirted last year, and now it doesn't matter because the year counts anyway with the 5-for-5. But that being said, he looks in much better shape physically. He's playing much more physically. He feels like he has an edge now that I just, in very limited action did not appear to be there. I mean, he's bullying like the centers. Christian Gerdak, he was having some success against him offensively. Doran Buka was really taking it to him at the rim. Just some really impressive stuff, I would say. I'm not at a level where I'm going to say, Javonte Ware is going to compete for the starting center job or be a massive part of the rotation. But I think this is a guy who's going to play 15 minutes a night if he continues to play that way. Because again, this is one practice, but I was really impressed with what I saw from him. Also taking into account what we didn't see from him last year, obviously.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if that's good news or bad news, to be honest with you. I mean, that's great. No, I think I'm going to go with good news right now because this is what you want. You want a guy to come in with a freshman. They recruited the guy who has got potential. They develop him. This is what the program is supposed to be. We've talked about it a million times. It's just also, okay. From what I've seen, I just didn't see Big Ten center from him. That's a big step for him to take.
I guess the half glass full is that this is a kid who seems more focused, again, physically looks the part. Like I just liked what I saw from him. The other side is that the concerns one may have from Christian Gerdak, right? All the positives that one could say about the offensive side of the ball. And we saw those positives in the practice. The concern was always, is he the level of rim protector they need and they've needed for quite some time? And I think those concerns, I wouldn't say they're, 5-alarm fire at this point, but one can clearly see he's not going to be a rim protector, at least from what I saw Tuesday. So that's a bit of concern, and you need Buka to fill in that side as the defensive rim protector. And what I saw from Buka yesterday does not exactly fill me with confidence that they're going to be this 1-2 tandem punch. So Steve Peichel said that they're going to add 2 more players. If you're a Rutgers fan, I guess what I would say is you better hope that one of those 2 is a bona fide rim protector, because as bad as they were defensively with Emmanuel Bole the last couple of years at center, the guy at least could block some shots and get some rebounds. I'm not sure they're at the same level as he was defensively from what they have right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's drill down on your impressions of Gerdak, because I think he could be the most important newcomer. Certainly, you would think. You said he looked good offensively. I mean, give me a feel for what you saw here.
Good touch around the rim. Clearly knows what to do. Has good instincts offensively. The bar to improve offensively at center from the last couple of years was basically on the floor. I think I saw clear signs that this guy will be their best offensive center since maybe Miles Johnson. Cliff Omori was a good center as far as being physical, getting to the rim, dunking, right? But he didn't really have the finesse around the rim the way Miles did. So I saw qualities similar to that of a guy who, if you get the ball to him around the rim, will be able to use his angles and geometry to get the ball there. again, my concern is the physical side of it, right? Is he going to be able to, between now and December, get to a point where he could physically compete night in and night out with the Big Ten? Because he did play in the ACC, and that's a Power 5 league. That's not the Big Ten as far as physicality down low. That's my concern. But I think touch-wise, finesse-wise, I think I liked what I saw from him.
Okay. Any of the other new players stand out? A couple of them did not play, or did not practice? Is that correct?
Yes. So Will Sidnor, the Manhattan transfer, he has a sprained ankle. Steve Pikiell said he's been out for a minute, but should be back soon. And Martin, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because I learned a new pronunciation that sounds nothing like the way it's spelled, so I won't even try. The Slovenian, he had blisters on his foot. I don't know if I've ever heard that before. I don't know if that's because of the American sneakers are different than in Slovenia. I don't know if it's the heat that we've had here in New Jersey. I don't know the reason, but he has blisters on his feet, so he couldn't practice. Both of them were in a boot and a bike on the corner, working out their arms and lats. Okay. So the other, I guess from a toughness standpoint, what I liked was freshman Amari Wooten, within 5 to 10 minutes of practice starting, gets an elbow to the face from Javante Ware. I see him go like this and walk around, and he's showing people something in his hand. He lost a tooth.
He spit out a tooth on June 30th. Wow. Ooh.
Walked out of the gym. I thought he was done for the rest of the practice. Next thing I know, 5 minutes later, he's on the court. I mean, that's...
Holy cow. Put him on the Rutgers hockey team. I love this kid.
That's Mawat Mag levels of toughness. I mean, just very, very impressive. The best player on the court was by far Lino Mark. I mean, incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive. Huh. Presence at point guard, getting to the rim, great shooting touch. I didn't keep track of his shooting. He must have shot something like 7 of 8 on threes. Every shot was going down. Looked more confident. Looked like the kind of guy who I think should be your starting point guard come November. I really liked what I saw from Lino Mark. And this is what you want from a Steve Pikiell team at its best, is you see guys take jumps year after year. And if yesterday was any indication, Lino Mark is going to be the guy that takes the biggest jump. I really liked what he saw. And I think that's something that Rutgers really needs, is that guy to take a big jump.
Right. Yeah. Well, if that's true and he does take that jump, well, then you know what your starting backcourt is. Obviously, him and Tariq Francis. You know what your starting center is, and then you have, I don't know, you have 6 or 7 options around to fill in those other. You should be able to find you would think, right? You should be able to find some options there. Did any of the wings stand out? Did any of those guys, the newcomers that they brought in, look good to you?
Well, the one thing that stood out to me was, so we got a glimpse of them working out in the weight room for the first 20 minutes of the practice session, which again was something I've never had before. It was a bit of a unique experience, but the one thing that stood out to me immediately was Rashid Jones, the Coastal Carolina transfer, was thinner than I thought he would be. I thought, for some reason, based on photos, I thought he'd be more of a bulkier forward. He's thinner, so him and Darren Smith will be more of the finesse shot-making forwards. And again, my question is whether they'll be able to handle the physicality of the Big Ten coming up from the levels that they did. Again, yesterday was too small of a glimpse to see that, but I didn't necessarily feel, reassured that will happen. Will Sidnor, obviously, we didn't get to watch him play, as we mentioned. Javante Ware is a guy that, again, showed me signs that he could play at the 4. Doran Buka, I think Jay Young always finds a guy that he likes to really ride in practice and really coach hard every year. The last couple of years was Emmanuel Bole. This year, Doran Buka is going to be his project. He was really riding him hard, and I didn't quite see anything there that gave me much confidence, to be quite honest with you, but he was always going to be a depth piece.
He's going to play 15 minutes against Delaware State. We're never going to see him again. That's how that's going to go. You can tell that one already.
Possible. I think he would be a higher level by fall, right? That's probably, as far as in an ideal world, that would be his usage, but we shall see. And Darren Buchanan looked, I think he could benefit from the better center situation, in the sense that he's not going to have to play 25 minutes at center as he did sometimes last year. He'll be able to be a bit more versatile. So, and now again, the front court is more of a question than the back court. The main question is, who are they going to bring in? And are they the kind of guys that are going to accentuate the front court? Are they more depth pieces?
I don't think. At this point, I can't imagine. It's July 1st. There's no one that they're going to bring in that's going to make an impact next year. I just don't. I can't foresee that. That seems, that's hard to believe.
And they probably won't come until the start of the semester at this point, right, because I don't think you can enroll them in the summer. Yeah. And so, we shall see. But I guess to wrap up the basketball point, what I would say is this team is clearly better than last year. I think that almost was guaranteed based on last year's team. I still am not sure how much better they are than last year. I'm going to have to get a couple more glimpses to really form an opinion.
All right, Steve Peichel vibe check. What is what you talk to him, you talk to players. It's always optimism, I'm sure, but did you get anything from conversations, or is it just usually the same old, same old?
It was the same old, same old. We got the update, obviously, that they're adding 2 more players, which if you do the math, means that Luis Duarte is not going to show up, because if they had 2 more players, Duarte and what they have now, that's 16, 1 over the scholarship limit. Steve Peichel was not committal on Duarte. He can't really talk about him, obviously, because I'm not sure he signed. But the way he answered the question basically was like, it's not happening, which is not a huge loss, obviously.
Not surprised.
Yes. It was always a bit of a weird situation there.
Gave us something to talk about for a podcast in middle of May or whenever it was. So there's that.
We will always appreciate you, Luis Duarte, our Dominican topic maker. Other than that, really just, all the players are workers. All the team is excited, more experience, all the good buzzwords that were flowing around. The coaching staff is intact from what, I asked him about the coaching staff. He didn't flat out say everyone's coming back, right? But at this point in July, everyone's on the practice court. They're all coming back. He did say that they got 10 more people in the NIL space. I'm not quite sure if that's an accurate number or a general thing, but he said that basically his biggest transfer portal acquisition was Kelly Zinn, really laying it on thick with the praising the boss. I think every interview he's done for the past 6 months has been praising Kelly Zinn. I don't blame him, but that was the other thing that stuck out. And the players, I guess the one thing that stuck out was Darren Buchanan said that he feels like this team could shock some people, and Christian Gerdak seemed pretty confident about how the team is looking right now based on what he saw at Virginia Tech. So there is some confidence from the players we talked to. Again, it's July 1st.
We'll talk to you guys in November again. All right. That's good. Good solid 10 minutes on basketball. Let's move on to football. Recruiting. Lots of 13 of Rutgers' 21 commits in the 2027 class have committed in the last month. I must admit, and I wonder if a lot of people feel this way. Since the portal is opened, recruiting, whatever small part of my brain I gave it, and I did, 10, 20 years ago, give it a small part of my brain. I just can't force myself to even think about football recruiting at this point. It is just such, and I understand it's still the pipeline. It's still, the players who are the best players on the football team are recruits, KJ Duff, Antoine Raymond. I get all that, right? I get all that. It's still very hard to follow it and pay attention to it. So I'm going to assume that a lot of our listeners are like me. Fill us in. What has happened here in the last month with recruiting?
I can't say I am much more enthusiastic than you are about the recruiting.
Enthusiastic, but if you were paid to pay attention, at least. Even then,
it's hard to really because to your point, these kids, if you have 26 commits, how many of them are going to play realistically in the first 2 years? Like 5 of them, right? And it's like Rutgers got.
I don't know if it was 5. Was it 5 last year? Maybe. I don't know.
I would have to do the math. That would require me to be better prepared for this podcast. But you look at I lost the thing is with the portal, like most of the team that's going to play comes in through the portal. They're older players. It's even harder now to play as freshmen. And it's not like this recruiting class in particular has, 1 or 2 standout 4-star kids like last year. Dysere Carter, the wide receiver, he was a 4-star top 150 player. You could see him playing at this very moment. There's no stud ready-made player to go. The Rutgers is all 3-star players according to the 247 composite.
Right. And look, and it's funny, and I think I encourage all Rutgers fans to watch the video that's been circulating about KJ Duff's background and his family. It's just great stuff. For a million reasons, just kind of a funny monk in it from his school who's just like a character. He talks great about his background. It's just like a really nice, well done, well produced, slick, sleek, little 10-minute video about the best player on your team. The thing that stuck out for me, if you watch it, KJ Duff is standing in the end zone and he's folding his arms. And he looks more physically upper body strength than he did at the end of last season. And then you project that, like forget the end of last season. You project that to when he was a freshman, by the way, and playing as a freshman, right? Like he had like 400 yards. If you think about the kid who came on campus then, who was like a toothpick, Like really, he was just a skinny kid who like looked like he'd never been in the weight room. That is most recruits, even the good ones. I mean, this is just important to remember. Like this is college football. You can't throw Dylan Harper out there and play 38 minutes a game. This is not, it's a different thing. And that just struck me as I'm watching it. I'm like, look at KJ Duff. He's ripped compared to where he was just last year. So yeah, I mean, it's just a good thing to remember with recruiting.
And those are the guys that your team is also going against. And when you get to the games against Ohio State, Michigan, that's what those kids look like as freshmen. And imagine what they look like as seniors, right? So yes, that's always good perspective to have. To go off the KJ Duff point, the position that's always good to look at in these recruiting classes for Rutgers in recent years is wide receiver, because they're always good for one young guy coming in and playing. Ian Strong, KJ Duff. This year it could be anywhere from Elias Koch to Dyser Carter. Those guys are, they have a shot, certainly. This class is Isaiah Alvarez from Don Bosco. A good win there. One, because you get a kid out of Don Bosco. I know the parochials, North Jersey isn't a focal point like they used to be, but it's always good to nab a talented player from one of those schools. And it's a position where Dave Brock, works miracles, right? So maybe the kid doesn't play as a freshman, but certainly with his skill set, you can see him, making an impact eventually, because Dave Brock might be able to turn you or me into a competent wide receiver if you give him enough time.
It's hard to imagine that's the deepest position in the team, right? It's hard to imagine he'd come in and crack that right away, but who knows? You
never know. And the only other position I think is worth noting, offensive line. They took 6 kids so far, and it just seems like the approach is you get as many kids as you can, right? Offensive line is a difficult position to project as it is, and it's a very expensive position in the portal, right? Tackles are a lot of money, almost as much as quarterbacks, basically. So better to get a bunch of kids and develop them and hope you have a decent hit rate, even if it's 20%, right? Over the course of a recruiting cycle, 5 years, 6 years, you have your starting offensive line. So I can't tell you individually how each of these kids looks and how they project, but that is the strategy, right? And I think it makes sense for where Rutgers is in the monetary rankings in the Big Ten.
Right. Yeah. And I think going back to your first point about the 3-star ranking, it feels like in the old days you would look at it as a recruiting failure. Now I wonder if you look at it as a resource allocation decision. And this is, if you look at those, the way recruiting goes, the programs that are shelling out the big bucks are getting the 4 stars and 5 stars. And then you've got to be able to, you've got to have enough money in your kitty that even some of those kids that are the high levels, that a lot of them will play, but most of them don't still, even then. So you've got to be able to invest in a player who's not going to be in your 2 deep. That's hard for a place like Rutgers to do. I imagine without talking to them, without knowing exactly, where they're putting all their money, I have to imagine that's part of the issue here, that they're not in a position where they can throw, $200,000 at a running back that's 18 years old. I think that might be part of what's happening.
And I think the tough part is that there are schools who throw that kind of money for high school kids and then throw 5 times whatever Rutgers is paying for transfer portal kids. And that's what makes winning at the highest level in college football basically impossible if you don't have a sugar daddy.
Right. That's exactly it. Yeah. And that's why all the discussions going on in college sports right now are about what's going to happen in the future. We don't have time to talk about that today here in July 1st. But yeah, interesting. Anything else? Any other nuggets from football? It's obviously been very quiet, kind of no practices. They've got the media day coming up, bringing all offensive players to media day. No surprise on that one.
Absolutely. I had a couple people email about no defensive captains. I mean, they brought back 1 starter, right? Kosh Sanders. I could be wrong on my numbers, but off the top of my head, he's the only returning starter, and that defense was historically bad. So it all makes sense. And they brought some good talkers offensively, right? It was KJ Duff, Antoine Raymond, and Kobe Asamoah.
Yeah. I mean, I completely understand that. They want to, certainly the first 2, put them out in front of everyone as much as possible. Antoine Raymond, KJ Duff, 2 of the top. I mean, that's been the narrative. People, if you want to put something out there about this team, Rutgers has one of the best receivers and one of the best running backs in the country. That's kind of where, if you're looking for positive, you want, the world to see this skill positions. So yeah, certainly there's no question about that. With the quarterback position unsettled, that's obviously a reason there. So I'm not surprised by who they chose.
And along with that short term, like we have these really good players at these two positions right now. There's we develop guys at these positions angle because for years, again, KJ Duff, Ian Strong, and then at running back, obviously Kyle Monangai, Antoine Raymond. Like this could be a showcase of if you play these positions and you want to play early, often, and really well in the Big Ten, we got guys that can make it happen. So
Kyle Monangai, you're going to be out in Chicago. Why don't you zip on over to? They still in Chicago? Did they move the Bears? I forget.
They still haven't moved the stadium, but
they haven't moved the stadium yet.
I think Kyle Monangai has better things to do on July 28th than to hang out with me and talk to me. I think he'll probably be out in the Barbados or some Caribbean country or something.
Probably.
I would hope.
Camp might start. Training camp, the Giants starts around then. It could be. You could be working. Yeah.
You just want to throw more stuff on my plate.
I'll do. Pass. I want you to be busy, as if you're not busy enough. But I want you to be busy as possible. All right. The other thing that happened, Directors Cup results are in. Sad trombone, womp womp. Rutgers is a DFL again, 93rd, 22 spots behind Maryland. Didn't they used to be good at this, Maryland? I thought they am I wrong about that? I thought they always had a couple of lacrosses or something. They would get into the top 25. I guess I'm wrong. I don't know.
To your exact point, Maryland men lacrosse missed the NCAA tournament for the first time in like your lifetime, maybe. My lifetime, a long time. So that was a big bummer for them. So that was probably their big hit because that was a team that was winning or competing for national championships for a long time.
All right, make me care about this. Can you make me care about this? And I guess I don't know. It hasn't changed. It's gone up and down. Even when it's been high, it's been in the 40s. And when it's low, there's been times when it's like FDU territory, and you're just like, come on, guys. You're spending hundreds of millions of dollars. Could you please just not be around, Cornell? Could you do a little better than that? But for the most part, I don't know. I have a hard time really getting worked up about this. Do you?
Well, I don't know if I'm staying up and I thinking, my God, they're last place in the Directors Cup, but I guess it's just a bad sign that the athletic department, for the fourth straight year, they're the last place team in the Big Ten. I mean, it's one thing.
This feels like a legacy thing, though. This feels like the old. This is still the consequences of bad decisions by the previous regime. The new regime has not had a chance to fix this yet in year one. If that's
correct, I'm not pinning this on Kelly Zinn, who missed out on a potential bonus if they had finished in the top 60, right? Like there is incentive all around to be better at this. But I guess it's just an illustration of how bad the department is, right? It's one thing to be one of the worst in the Big Ten. It's another to be year in and year out last in the Big Ten by a major margin, by a wide margin. They are getting, they bottomed out in the year after they had their highest finish ever. They bottomed out at like 130th. And they've climbed back, but they're still, way behind their peers. The concern, I guess, is that there's 5 sports that are you could submit up to 19 sports, but 5 sports are obligated to be submitted. Mm-hmm. I think it's the 2 basketballs, baseball, volleyball, and I don't think
football.
Is it
Isn't
football?
That football?
I don't think it's football. I wrote it in the story. I'll check. But the point is, none of those schools made the tournament, the postseason. So none of your major sports are doing it. None of your minor sports are doing it. Where is it? Yes, it's baseball, basketball, volleyball, and women's soccer. Even women's soccer didn't make the postseason this year. Yeah. Field hockey didn't make the postseason this year. And in a year where you have historic gymnastics season, you have women's lacrosse back in the tournament, you have rowing putting up a good performance, wrestling did its part, and you're still dead last because all of your major sports. So you don't get the benefit of having big time sports play well. You don't even have the consolation of when fans pretend like it's a good year because the women's lacrosse team did well, right? That's the thing that bad athletic departments to get their fans jazzed up about is that, at least women's lacrosse won a game. They can't even do that. Like, I guess women's lacrosse didn't win a game, but you get my point. So no, I don't think this in and of itself is something worth crashing out over on June 30th, but it is a bad sign for the health of the department. And it's a clear sign of just how much Kelly Zinn and her team have to dig out of because it's a deep hole.
Yeah. And I think a lot of this would be fine. And people wouldn't care about this if those teams, the important teams, I hate to say it, but the teams that people pay most attention to, the basketball programs, and they weren't just bad. They were, especially the women's team has been, rock bottom bad. They're digging out from there now. I think we're seeing that. It would be better if, obviously, if the football program, you can't miss a bowl game. There's just I think that with the overall, those teams are the ones that set the mood, the vibe for the program, for the entire athletic department. I don't think anyone's like, 93rd. Maybe next year we can get the 72nd. It wouldn't matter as long as you've got something you can hang your hat on. And it can't be crew. I'm happy for women's crew. I think it's great they're doing that, but they need to give me some wins. Give me some things that we can talk about. Like, give me a narrative or write the narrative. That's the thing that's missing right now. It's all about what they're doing behind the scenes. That's the narrative. We've got the right people in place. We're building, we're spending, we're getting money. That's great. But I mean, now this year's got to be, hey, look, we're winning. That's got to be it, and then we get to the end. If we're sitting here next year and July 1st looking for something to talk about, and we're like, oh, look, well, we're up to 87th, like it's just going to be, it's not going to be good.
I guess just two things, and I might be talking out of two sides of my mouth here based on what I just said, but if you're going to lean on Olympic sports to give you some excitement, right, when the other sports aren't doing well, I need something bigger than like an NCAA tournament win. I need a Final Four run. I need a national championship in something. I need, I need some high level wins, right? Then I know they've had some in the recent past, like Chloe Timberg won a national championship in pole vault. She did pole vault. Those are fine. I need a team championship. I need something. I think Rutgers fans need something to hang their head on. Like I said, Maryland, as much as their main sports stink, or at least football does, they won a national championship in lacrosse every year or every other year for a while. That'd be nice. The other thing is, I agree with you that, if they move up a couple spots nationally in the Directors Cup standing next year, it doesn't really matter. They need to not finish last in the Big Ten. Give me a 16th place finish, a 14th place finish. Don't be last, right? Because a fifth straight year of last place is just, it's not great.
Slap that on a billboard. Don't be last instead of DFL, DBL, a new one. All right. Anything else Rutgers related before we start talking about football, the other football?
Well, this is Rutgers and football related. Senegal, who was hosted at Rutgers for the group stage, they played Belgium today, and they may have already played by the time people listen to this. So that'll be something Rutgers-centric to watch. The Rutgers men's team practiced with them.
Senegal moved on?
Senegal did advance.
Twice. They did advance.
They did, and it was that's part of the issue of the World Cup expanding, is that basically if you have a pulse, you will advance. And it was interesting. I was at the press conference after they lost to Norway, and the way some Senegalese journalists were like, I don't speak French fluently enough to follow the conversation, but the tone of the questions and the conversation was something like, "Oh my God, this guy's gonna get fired!" And now they're in the next round. Makes for some anticlimactic action there. But as a tangent, I don't know if you followed the way some of these countries are reacting to getting kicked out of the World Cup, like Korea. They blacked out the coach's press conference like they do for criminals. Like they just don't show him on TV. When he arrives at the airport separate at like 2 a.m, and he got a humongous crowd of fans basically telling him he failed the country and that he should resign. And that's what the World Cup is about. As much as it's nice to see Paraguay beat Germany and all these people excited, it's also the vitriol of your countrymen letting you down, and you have to let them know, like I will be on Friday when Portugal blows it against Croatia. Just let these people know that they have failed an entire country.
It's like it is one of the greatest questions in Olympic history, and I forget what year it was, but I've read so many of my colleagues who cover Olympics have told me about it and written about it. The question was simply, "You have disgraced your country. Please respond." It's great. There's nothing better. I should ask that. It'd be great. Like if Rutgers loses to UMass this year, Greg Shadow, Coach, you have disgraced your university. Please respond. It's like, what are you going to say there? It's great.
It wasn't verbatim like that, but when Ecuador tied with Curacao, like on national TV, one of the reporters asked one of the players who barely played. It was a bit unfair to this one particular guy. Yeah. But he basically said, like, are you guys aware that you just let down an entire country? And the guy's just like, and then here's the beauty of the World Cup. After that game, they get this epic win against Germany. They move on. Oh my! Yes. The president calls a national holiday the next day. They're all excited.
The guy climbs into the stands. The coach is like, he's scaling the wall at MetLife Stadium. It's wild.
I think it was to see his wife. And then then last night I'm at my buddy, my really close friend is Ecuadorian. I'm there with his family. They give me an Ecuador jersey. I'm all excited, and then they get just pounded by Mexico, and like now they're ready to fire the coach and like bomb the entire squad off the face of the earth. They're disgraced, and I think that's just all these high emotions are. I'm excited for the U.S. national team because everyone's all flowery about Pochettino. What happens if they lose to Bosnia tonight? How are people going to react? That's going to be the proper measure. That would be
the most American soccer thing ever to lose to Bosnia. 100%. Yes.
From a kid,
and it is funny. Like it is. What's that?
Bosnia, one of their best players, grew up in Appleton, Wisconsin. It'll be very America if he scores 2 goals and knocks them out.
That'd be rough. Yeah, I mean, it is fun watching it because it obviously such a different thing, but it's not just it's like being placed in this familiar spot. Like I'm dropped into the press box at MetLife Stadium, a place I have been to a million times, right? A million times, but it's just completely different. Different people, different vibe, and it's funny to just like the French media cheering, getting angry, the Senegal pounding the table, like all these like Brazil reporters, just a completely different thing than what we're used to. It's just no cheering in the press box. No, that's absolutely not the vibe. And then and then the press conference is like I can't speak a word of any of these languages, but the body language, and it is a wild experience. It's been fun to I feel like an interloper, stepping into this world.
When we watched the Brazil game, which was the first one, Brazil-Morocco, and Vinicius scores the goal, you hear the entire left side of the press box get up and say, "Whoa!" like go crazy. And I just think to myself, can you imagine if like Ethan Kaliakmanis throws a monster ball to KJ Duff and they score a touchdown, all of us going, in the press box.
I will say I did do that at KJ Duff's catch when he did the Beckham catch against Penn State. I did have a moment where I was openly losing my shit in the press box. I exceeded my.
But that was an all-time catch, right? Just imagine if Ethan Kaliakmanis, I keep saying him because we don't know who the quarterback is for next year, just to be clear. But let's say he throws a pass behind a receiver and you just hear someone down the press box pound the table and go, "Are you an idiot? What are you doing?"
Yeah. It's just, in fairness, when he did drop the ball in that very game, I think the two of us were like, that was our reaction. It was like, oh, of course he just dropped the ball. I was like, yeah. So that's fair. You're right. We didn't. None of us screamed. Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun because I'm not involved, right? I would only imagine, let's say in a hypothetical world, Portugal makes it to the World Cup final. And this is a hypothetical world because it'll never actually happen in real life. But let's say they make it to the final and I'm in the press box and they're playing Argentina just to get my blood boiling. And Argentina scores a goal and I hear the Argentina media celebrate that goal. I think I'd be fuming. And if I was a more temperamental guy, I'd want to fight these people, right? Like there's got to be issues from this happening eventually.
I'm not sure. And this is my feeling. I'm glad you brought that up because we should discuss this in front of a live audience so people can see the decision making. What worries me about this, and I think if we might only get one credential to the World Cup final, and I think you should go as a much more passionate soccer fan than me. You would appreciate it more. But if it's Portugal, I don't know that we can let you in the stadium. I'm going to be honest. I think that's probably the one situation where we've got to say, maybe you should just, put yourself in a room, lock yourself alone in a corner or something. I don't know if you want to be around people.
I would advise FIFA not to give me the microphone if I covered Portugal and they lost the World Cup final, and I would
because this poor man, this national hero that you've just been destroying and on Twitter to me as if I care, like Ronaldo, it's just been roasting him at every opportunity. It's just like he's the best athlete in your country's history, and every time you just your beef with him, man.
It's an interesting question because at what point does what you've done in the past give you license to just keep going, right?
It's a very relevant question at Rutgers.
Right.
But yes, we're not talking about Rutgers, Steve. We're talking about Portugal's soccer. Okay, you're right.
It's an interesting question even for the World Cup where, every team has different approaches. Portugal and to a certain extent Ecuador with Ener Valencia are letting these carcasses, these dinosaurs who were once glorious men a decade and a half ago, ruin their chances. Portugal is playing with 10 men because this old man, this 41-year-old dinosaur, he can't run. It's infuriating to watch him walk around, waddle around. And if he wasn't so arrogant, maybe I can get over it. But the guy scores 2 goals against Uzbekistan, and he goes to the camera and says, "I'm back." And my head's on Mars watching this stuff. It's infuriating. And he owns 30% of the one of the biggest private media companies in Portugal, right? So basically, one of the 3 sports dailies says nothing negative about the guy because he's their boss. One of the rights holders in Portugal is like one of the streaming the game on YouTube and stuff, the Portugal games. And in their post-game interview, they said, "Chef, congratulations for the win. Can I get a raise? Are you happy enough to give me a raise?" Like, they're just joking around about this. His like water brand sponsors the national team. There are people that go to these games for him. You hear more Cristiano Ronaldo chants than you do Portugal chants at these games. You have more foreign people in Portugal jerseys than Portuguese people at these games. The Portuguese Federation, and I'm saying this before they get eliminated, so people don't accuse me of being saying this when they lost. They don't care about winning the World Cup. They don't care. If they win the World Cup, that's a nice byproduct. They care about butts in the seats, selling tickets, selling shirts, selling TV rights, selling everything they possibly can. They had a record amount of profit this year. They're going to make a record profit next year because of this World Cup. And they don't care. If Portugal loses to Croatia, they don't care because they made their money. Okay, I'm done.
All right.
Now, Brazil is doing it the right way because Neymar is completely washed up. But they're not throwing him out there because they know he sucks. And what do you know? Brazil beat Japan and they moved on. So,
2 Rutgers things that I think are worth talking about. And I wrote this morning about the atmosphere at MetLife Stadium. And I am no MetLife Stadium apologist. I have criticized the building from almost day one. And then I understand people see these these wonderful new stadiums across the country. MetLife is not that, but the atmosphere has been legitimately great. And I think part of it is obviously it's the World Cup, and I'm used to watching Jets and Giants games, and the Jets and Giants have been miserable. I get that, but it's also every single seat occupied at the like 20 minutes before, forget that, an hour before the start, the stadium's full. There's a lesson here for Rutgers fans. It matters. It does. Every time we bring it up, we're safety traffic. The line. They're checking the bags. Like, every time we bring it up, they're like, there's a million excuses. There is no harder place to get to. We've talked about how hard it is to get the MetLife. People get there early. It's the World Cup. They get in the building somehow. When the game starts, the place is filled. It is electric at the start of the game. That's what you see. That's what you remember. That's what, that's when you're looking at the crowd. It's not in the middle of the second quarter. Well, look at it now, Politi. Get this. It really is a jarring thing. And I get it. I'm comparing the World Cup to like Rutgers, Maryland. I understand that's ridiculous. It's apples and oranges in a million ways, but still, it did occur to me.
Here is how you solve that. You make every Rutgers football ticket cost $1,500. And you bet your ass that place will be packed to the – well, I mean, there will be 5 people in the stands because they're the only people that would pay that money. But the point being, if people pay that much money to be there, they will be there. The other thing, people have been warned, hit over the head for months that it'll be take a long time to get into the stadium, the very limited availability, like ways to park or to, so prepare ahead of time. So people over-prepare and they show up hours early. Whereas at Rutgers, people think they can leave their tailgate at 12:50 for a 1 o'clock kickoff and get through the security line that is 50 people long and make it in time, right? So I think that's part of the issue as well. And I think the biggest thing is that people care so much more about their national team and being at the World Cup than they do for most American sporting events because these things matter. They happen every 4 years. And because, most important of all, it's the best sport on earth. And nothing else can compare. So
right, yes. The other tangentially Rutgers thing is that everyone's mad at Alexi Lalas, which is the most predictable thing in the world. Him and Carly Lloyd, the two greatest Rutgers soccer players of all time, happen to be 2 of the most prominent broadcasters as well. I haven't heard much about Carly, to be honest, but Lalas, I mean, it's just nonstop. It's kind of funny. Like, if I'm him, you got to lean into that, and I think he is. Like, be the heel. Yeah, it's all right. The Fox just wants them talking about it. I don't think they really care about soccer strategy talk, and I think that's what he's doing. Like, I think some of the criticism is unfair. Like, he's talking to an American audience. He's not talking to French people who understand what's happening in the game. Like, 80% of people watching these games have no clue about soccer. They really don't. They're just tuning in now. Hey, it's the World Cup. Hey, look, let's watch it. Yeah, he's talking to them. He's not talking to the sophisticated European fan. I'm okay with it. What do you think of Lawless?
I think Lawless is a terrible analyst and has been for years. And I think that people we know wouldn't defend him so much if he didn't go to Rutgers, right? I think he's obnoxious. And Zlatan is also very obnoxious. I'm not a fan of him.
Oh my gosh, about to say.
Henri is the only salvable person on that entire panel. I don't watch Fox.
He's
I watch
smart, but he's boring. He's just kind of, I don't know.
Well, listen, these sophisticated European fans didn't become sophisticated because they would listen to guys like Alexi Lawless talk about heart and grit and character and all this nonsense, right? They do it because they watch the games and they read about it and they watch analysts talk about the game. Maybe if the American audience wasn't treated like children and idiots, basically, they would learn about the game and they'd want to watch it more than every 4 years at the World Cup, right? Maybe they'd love and learn the glory of
we got a lot going on, man. That's a big ask. You got a lot going on.
The point is, I just think he's very, very boring, very reductionist. Like, he doesn't it adds nothing. And I think clearly what this Fox thing has shown is that no one respects him because Zlatan is talking to him like he's his little brother. From the first game, I texted you. I was like, Zlatan is destroying this guy, bullying him basically on the stage, on a national stage. So, but I don't feel bad for Alexi Lawless because he's been doing this for many years. He's made a lot of money off of talking about soccer on TV. And while I think he deserves a little more respect, this guy played in Serie A in Italy at the peak of Italian soccer. He started in Italy in the 90s. Like, he's a legitimate player. Like, this is a guy who had a legitimate career.
Of course.
Yes. And people are talking to him as though the peak of his career was playing at Rutgers. Like, it's maybe it's a bit unfair there, but I think he puts a lot of that on his shoulders because I think he kind of sucks, to be honest. And I think people should learn how to speak Spanish so they can watch Telemundo.
Wow. There you go. All right. They should put Rutgers games on Telemundo next fall. All right. So what's going to happen before we have another podcast? What's coming up? What's on the calendar? Obviously, it's a slow time of year. Not until late July do we go to Big Ten Media Days. Do we know when training camp starts? Is it early August, right after that? They haven't set the dates yet. Give me a calendar, something to look forward to.
You will learn when training camp starts the day before it starts.
The day before, of course. Right. They don't want to tell us that information.
Based on past precedent, it will start the week after Big Ten Media Days. That's typically how it happens. So the first week of August. Between now and then, basically nothing will happen. I don't think. I don't think we're going to do a podcast because there's going to be nothing to talk about unless Rutgers basketball. We're not going to do a podcast because of this. But the only thing I can think of is Rutgers basketball adds those two players between now and then. I doubt it. I think that's going to be more of a September thing. Right. And I guess the only other thing that'll happen is Portugal's going to win the World Cup. So unless you want to pod after that one as an emergency pod.
Yes. If Portugal wins the World Cup, we will pod from MetLife Stadium after. It'd be great. If we both get in and Portugal wins the World Cup, we can have a live show just so you can go on and just bask in the glory of your countrymen. But from what I've seen, and this is great. This people will appreciate that because we're sitting next to Fonseca during this game. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Mbappe, this guy can play some soccer. These are like the hot takes that Brian's getting. This like Politi discovers Mbappe. Like that's I'm surprised you're still sitting next to me with some of the things I'm saying during these games.
You're my Alexi Lawless. You say,
look at this guy. He's better than the other players. Has anybody noticed this?
Listen, I think it was good to be there yesterday because you get to watch, like, this is a generational thing. Like, Mbappe, when all is said and done, is going to be the best scorer in the history of the World Cup. He very well should win. He's won one so far, made two finals. Very well should win at least one or two more and can challenge Pele for the most titles ever. I think last night, and I mean this sincerely, we watched the greatest World Cup player of all time.
Might be. Yeah. And it's pretty amazing to think that, no matter what happens, we've already had him twice. We might get him a third time. We had Haaland, who, if second best player and third best player in this event, I mean, you can make the case. He's certainly in top five. Yep. Yeah, I mean, top five. We had Harry Kane, who hadn't been great, but still scored a couple goals. I mean, it was goals. We had Vinny Jr. We've had like, it's been a pretty impressive. If you're just a soccer fan, if you're a New Jersey sports fan, forget being a soccer fan, it has been one top performer after another coming through here. It's been pretty neat.
And Sunday we're getting Vinny Jr. in Brazil and Erling Haaland and Norway again. So that should be
we'll be rowing at the stadium. I love it.
It'll be like yesterday where 90% of the crowd is Brazilian and 10% are those strong Nordics who are trying to not get swallowed up by the natives. So it's gonna be a good game, I think. And listen, enjoy the World Cup while it lasts. I think I'd love to hear what you guys think about the World Cup. Throw it in the comments who you're rooting for, your most impressed team so far. Just any comments on the World Cup. I love talking about this stuff, as you realize we spent 20 minutes talking about nonsense that no one cares about. And listen, enjoy it, because the World Cup might end Thursday when Portugal loses, because I am not paying attention after that.
Oh boy, that's it. All right, let's end there. Thanks to the Rutgers Hotel, the fine hosts for some Senegalese people. Thanks to you. Thanks to the World Cup. Thanks to everyone who's been bearing with us during a very slow time. Next time we're back, I think we're going to have some football to talk about in a really meaningful way. So see you then.
Thank you for listening to the Rutgers Rant, sponsored by the Heldridge Hotel. Head to nj.com/Rutgers for more Scarlet Knight content.